ACM Hoichkasi MCIA. Chief Skaloots on Snatas Lewitu, Chief Yopan on Snatas Lewitu Squamish. We're sitting back watching. We've been chums hanging out for almost 20 years, and we're just watching Phil and Uncle Lee speak up before us, and I don't laugh at my own jokes as much as you do, bro. That's true, isn't it? All these guys know him. It's true, isn't it?
I guess it is.
I guess it is.
I need a camera for you.
But what an honor. Thank you, my relations here in Statly, for coming together and creating this. I slept really good last night, and it's due to the spirit of what's going on here today. I'd like to truly thank my teachers for saving my life. And that's Lee, Phil, I see Dave Crishane, all of it, Robert Nahaney, all my teachers that are here, and Daryl Bob also. What an honor to travel with you guys and to pray with you guys. And even when we're doing work, it's a prayer. Even when we sit together, it's a prayer and it's a blessing. And the knowledge and the wisdom that they carry and that they share openly, not just with me, but all of us, is amazing. And all of our ancestors, all of our elders, it feels good and it feels beautiful. Because one thing I believe in the ceremonies that we do, and however we may do it, like in our sweat lodge house that we have here, our longhouses, when we pray, when we put the elements down, when we work with the protocols, they're there for a reason. Some of my teachers, I remember in places like this, I got reprimanded, and my mom came out and said, I'm not going to give you pity words, but keep your head up. When they're speaking to you, keep your head up. When they're reprimanding you, keep your head up, because they're teaching you and they love you. And sometimes the words were hard, but what it was and what I learned later is they wanted me to experience their experiences. They wanted me to experience the experiences of our ancestors, of those miracles that we heard that happened, and those legends and those stories. Those are a reality for our ancestors. And that's what they urge us to go towards and work towards. When Uncle Phil says that, I do the same thing with my daughter. I teach them to surpass us, to be better than us, to grow more than us, to be stronger than us, to be more spiritual than us, and whatever that means, more grounded, more humble, more courage, more strength, more knowledge, more wisdom, more love. Love is such an important thing. And when we talk and we go to ceremonies, like our sweat, our longhouse, when we pray, and we put down those protocols that do mean something. I share often that my daughter taught me when she was 4. My mom, myself, and my daughter went to go pick some lava rocks for the sweat lodge. And I drive up there, do my prayer, put down tobacco, and I said, okay, hurry up, grab some rocks. And my daughter looked at me the way she does, real stern, teaching me again. She said, I'm going to pick the right one, so don't hurry me. And I said, that's right. I said, I'm sorry. But to her, knowing what a sweat is about, that's a place of safety and a place of healing. That she was going to pick a rock that she knew that was going to maybe help somebody, like my brother said, shed some tears, to do some healing, to have a closer connection to her own individual spirit, to have a closer connection to her ancestors, to have a closer connection to Creator. So when you sit in the lodge and you pour water on the rocks, that's when the ceremony doesn't start then. It started when she picked up that lava rock. It started when we got that tree down and chopped it. It started when we built that sweat. It started when we made that fire. It started when we sang those songs and we said those prayers and we shed those tears. And if you think of all that and put it all together, that's the beginning of your understanding of what all my relations means. Some of my firemen are here, and that's what we teach. I said, I'm not going to thank you for doing what you should be doing anyway. That's a teaching they told me. I was a fireman for 14 years. I became a ceremonial chief, and I'm still going to follow my commitment, and I'm going to be fireman for 4 more years. And what it taught me is that was a ceremony in itself, because that encompassed the idea of all my relation, that when I chopped wood, the same idea what my daughter taught me is when I chopped that wood, somebody was going to benefit from that action. When I made that fire and I lit it, somebody was going to benefit from that action. So how would I want to be? How would I want to be? And it took a long time, it seems, for us to get to this point, but at the same time, it happened really fast. Geez, 1957, it was against the law for the Indigenous people of Canada to speak to a lawyer, to vote, to practice our cultural and our spiritual ways that I see all nationalities here that my teachers share with you openly. 1930, 80% of the Indigenous people in Canada went to residential school. 50% of them died before 19 years old. That's a big chunk of our Indigenous population. I heard Uncle Lee talk and Uncle Phil talk about 20 years ago. They said when they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that race of people grew back stronger, that Uncle Lee was saying. World War II, when they killed 20 million Jews, after that happened, that race of people grew back stronger. And the reason why they did is because they had their culture. They were able to use that as a crutch and as a tool to build their race up. But what happened here is when those thousands of millions of the Indigenous people of this country were murdered in those residential schools, didn't grow back stronger because they took away our culture to help us to be a crutch to move forward. But like Uncle Phil says, he'd like to thank Harper for reuniting the Indigenous people of Canada like never before to stand up for our Indigenous rights. I see the I Don't Know More movement, and I see what happened to our relations that were genocide happened to and how they were able to grow back stronger. Now we're growing back stronger. I Don't Know More across our country is showing that. And not only we're not doing it alone. When we woke up, our country's starting to wake up, and we're going to do it. And we're going to do it all together by recognizing that all the different nationalities here that are here today, that we'll do it together. We'll do it with one heart and one mind and one prayer. The backbone behind all the work that I try to be a part of. What I was taught by my teachers that I mentioned was our culture and our spirituality. What a beautiful place to come from or to negotiate from when you're coming from love. Our courage, our strength, those fundamentals of any religious or any spiritual belief, those teachings of humanity. This little baby right here, how beautiful, that's who we're doing it for. What we experience here and how beautiful it is here, we want to make sure that we can protect that. We want to make sure that we're going to stand up for it because it's worth it. The beauty that I had and the beauty that I've left with here today because of your input that happened here, it's like I was saying, when you go to a ceremony and you go to a sweat and you put in that work to make that sweat happen, to make it that beautiful, your spirit will be able to expand to the size of that sweat lodge. Each and every one of you, when you feel comfortable, if you allow that to happen, and if you do that and I do that and everybody else does that, our spirits bless each other. And then the ancestors come down in the presence of that sweat and they also bless us. And that's what happened last night in this arbor. I left and I felt good. And it was the elements that helped that to happen. The spirit was released by that medicine when it was lit, that medicine came out and touched us and cleansed us and cleaned us. If you want to call it your conscious, your aura, your sixth sense, your intuition, or whatever you feel it might be, your spirit was cleansed. And then it was open. And then when it was open, you're able to allow your spirit to expand and experience that love. And I know you know how that feels because you've been in love. Maybe somebody special, your children, your family, whoever it might be. I see that in people that don't live close, and they go home and they come back and their spirit's fed because they went and sat with their family and they're familiar with that love that's passing back by one another, and it grows. You take that experience of how you know that and you apply it to the earth. We have songs about grass. We have songs about the blue sky. We have songs about songs. Just kidding.
That's true, brother.
Yeah. Come on, Curtis. We'll make one up. Well, that's part of it. And thank you for that humor. Me and my brother were in a sweat, and he's blowing on a pebble, and he made the pebble really hot. And he's sitting behind me, and he shoved the pebble in my armpit. And I started laughing. I was like, and then we started almost wrestling. And somebody said, "Hey, you can't do that here. Ceremony time, serious time." And the elder said, "Well, if the ancestors want these goofballs to be goofballs, I think that's okay." So humor's good, and it's a good medicine. But when we reconnect ourselves and what we know and the capacity that we have, what I truly believe is that medicine that we carry is always accessible. And unfortunately, I see it sometimes when people come and want help when they're sick, and they want to pray and they want to believe because they don't want to cross over without what's going to happen when they cross over to the spiritual world. But they pray really hard. But they do. We have that accessibility to create that connection to our own spirit anytime, to our ancestors and to our Creator. I see that. But the best way to think about it is when, if you have a baby like the baby that you've seen here, like my daughter, is that we're born with those gifts. We're born with that love and that courage and that strength. And we apply all these fundamentals of humanity to our medicine wheel of who we are physically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. And the babies are so beautiful because they take your time and look right in the eye of the baby. And I share this often, that was taught to me by my teachers. When the baby looks at us, they look at us with unconditional love. There's no prejudice, no anger, no hate, no judgment. When my daughter was born, my son were born, I said, geez, that's my goal of how I want to be. I want to be like that and walk into a room and love everybody equally, except Boston Bruins. I pray really hard to the hockey gods. They don't listen to me when I pray for the Canucks, so I pray for Chicago. But I'll pray for them too. I love them. Except Chara. No, he's okay too. Except he's too tall. But I'm laughing at my own jokes. We got a song about that even. But we have the ability to access the availability of our spirits, our ancestors, our Creator. And that to me is what spirituality is about. If you have a goal in life, and you believe in all what you have, physically you believe in it, mentally you believe in it, emotionally you believe in it. If you believe in it so much, eventually your spirit's going to believe in it and make that happen. It's going to make that happen. When you get your spirit fed that way, you know the goodness. And my teachers tell me, they say, you know, you could BS me. You could BS yourself, but you can't BS Creator. You can't. That genuine goodness, you can't pretend. You can't pretend you're something more. The ancestors know. The Creator knows. And they'll watch you. And if you want to walk on this path of goodness, with the humility and the courage and the strength and those fundamentals of humanity, that goodness is your strength. That love is your strength. All those things, though, that's your strength. My brother would say any honest to goodness, good prayer could wipe out any negativity. But once you achieve that, what is your duty and what is your responsibility when you achieve that? What is your duty and your responsibility when you achieve that connection? If you're going to walk away with a gift that the Statlian people have given us, if you're going to walk away with that, what is your duty and responsibility to that? What are you going to do with that? If you look and you find out what your gifts are, what is your duty and responsibility to do that? Share it. Share it. I was watching TED Talks, and there was a pastor. He did a workshop for, actually, the NBA. I don't like the Celtics, too. No, I'm just kidding. he did a workshop for the NBA All-Stars, and he held up the basketball. And he said, this is your gift. You retire, you'll still be known as a basketball player. This is your gift. You could touch millions of people with your gift. Now, what are you going to do with your gift, your God-given gift? And he said, what he found in no amount of money, no amount of anything, of material world of what our dysfunctional society lives on will give me a better experience than a story I'm going to share with you. Me and my daughter were, I shared this last year, we're watching TV or the internet, and we're going to pick a movie, and I said, geez, Kai, I look at you and I love you so much. I'm so happy when I see you. My heart's full. My daughter, and she goes, Dad, and I was ignoring her. I'm picking a movie, and she grabs my chin and she goes, look at me in the eye. And she's like 10 years old, and she goes, and I almost going to cry. I almost cry. I don't know. I tell this story. I almost cry. We need a song for that one. And she says, Dad, when I look at you, I'm so happy. My heart's filled because I love you so much. My daughter said that to me. And that's a gift. That's a gift. So what it is about connections. My grandfather said, if you're Catholic, Christian, pipe carrier, longhouse, Sion, he said, if you're good at that and you go by those fundamentals of humanity, you will make connections with people. What I see in ceremonies is about connections. When your spirit expands the size of the lodge, that's connections. When you love somebody, that's connections. When my daughter shared that with me, that's connections. Nothing makes me feel better than that. Being with my uncles and my teachers and each and every one of you, I went home and I slept so beautiful. Thank you, Stott Lake Nation, for giving us that gift. That's connections. So when you have your gift, how are you going to use your gift to create more connections and to spread the medicine that you're going to receive from here and give out that love? Sister Pauline came up and she said, last year you said, be a pebble that's thrown into the pond and ripple out to the people that did. And she did those things. She took that and listened to the responsibility of the teachings that were given by the aunties and uncles that came here, and she went out and shared it. Her responsibility to love herself and to spread that medicine and to make it grow. Maybe even learn a song about the grass, the trees, the water, the things that we have a spiritual connection for. 2 years now, I've been working to stop Kinder Morgan. I left my job. I left my job as a family therapist and director of community development when I heard the true facts of just June 1st, 60,000 barrels leaked out into beautiful land like this. Highest concentration rate of cancer for those poor relations out in Alberta that live close to that. My sister, my friend, told me, she said, doctor told her she couldn't bath her daughter for more than 3 minutes at a time. They can't hunt their game, they can't eat their fish, they can't be who they are because of greed. Our laws of what we go by as Indigenous people and by the teachings of humanity, when somebody's killing somebody, that's not right. That's what the Harper government's doing, that's what Kinder Morgan's doing. Where's our responsibility to share it with those ones that are suffering? What could we do when our spirits are fed there, when our relations are suffering over there? How could we create love with that? We go and stand up for them. I left my job and I had to stand up for them. I had to stand up for the baby that was right here. I have to stand up for my daughter. We have to stand up for our daughters, our sons, our children, to make sure that beauty that I'm talking about that happens in the ceremonies and here, that opportunity will be there for them. This opportunity is here for you right now. And I'm part of it. And I'm blessed because of it. Because of your efforts to share your love, to share who you are, to share your spirit is feeding me. And it gives me strength, it gives me courage, and I will fight. And I won't stop. Because we all deserve this. We shared this last year, that we're not just doing it for our children, your children, but we'll also do it for Kinder Morgan's children and Harper's children. They're stuck in their dysfunction of power and greed. We're going to do it for them. They're too blind to see. We will do it for them. We will be a mighty pebble thrown into the pond and ripple out to the people and make things better. You heard our teachers talk about how it used to be. But because of them, we're going to make it close to that, and we're not going to stop. We have to. Rededicate yourself if you love this feeling to a better way of life. Because like I said, nothing else about outside that Western way of living could feed me and make me feel as good as I do right here, right now, because of each and every one of you. We have to continue this. Send those messages and be strong. Be strong and stand up. Stand up for those ones that are suffering, those ones that are hurting, those ones that need help. The ones of our future generations, they need help, and we'll do that. We'll do that. Wanka tanka donka shela